Good morning, and we are live. Well, I tell you, everything I see this morning, it is clear America's had enough. They have had enough. What's going on in Minneapolis and around the country? People have gotten a belly full, and the polling shows it. People are walking away from Trump in droves. Let's dig into it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about why. You know, Trump is in trouble. He is. And Republicans know it. This is Scott Jennings over at CNN. Something that he just posted on X the other day. I don't have an X account, but people were kind enough to share it over to Threads where I found it. I want you to take a look at this. You don't do this unless you know this is all you got. If you take a look, on the left is a post from Governor Tim Walz from Minnesota. On the right is a post from Scott Jennings about what Governor Tim Walz just said. It's straightforward. It is straightforward, just made up, manipulated crap. You want to know why Cletus and your MAGA uncle are so stupid? It's because of this. It's because of the failures of the corporate media. It's because the corporate media has become nothing but right-wing shields. Take a look at this. Governor Tim Walz says state investigators have been on the scene in North Minneapolis. I know you're angry. I'm angry. What Donald Trump wants is violence on the streets. But Minnesota will remain an island of decency, of justice, of community, and of peace. Don't give him what he wants. Excellent advice. Excellent advice. Scott Jennings, CNN commentator Scott Jennings says Minnesota will remain an island. Walz cannot be more explicit. This buffoon believes he is seceding from the Union. We are well into Insurrection Act territory. Yeah. I mean, if you're just going to make shit up, you know you have no argument to make. You know you have no argument to make. When you take Governor Walz saying Minnesota will remain an island of decency, and you turn that into Minnesota will cut it off, manipulate it, and lie about what the man said, you know you are in deep shit. That you have no argument to make, that you have no leg to stand on. And this is why, folks, this just happened. I'm going to try to get through this without choking up. This is just heartbreaking. Just heartbreaking. It's happened again. You know, ICE is just screwing up. And I love, by the way, follow Stephen Beschloss. He is a historian. Historians are great resources. If you're on Threads, if you're on Blue Sky, follow Stephen Beschloss. 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 He is a fantastic source, but he got something dead wrong yesterday. He put out a post where he said, calling on Democrats to hop in airplanes and fly to Minneapolis. No, no, no. Do not make yourself the center of the story right now. Don't. America is getting a firsthand look at what Republicans chose. They're getting a firsthand look at how Republicans govern and what they do. Don't offer up a distraction. Don't. Because ICE right now is doing things like this. Sean and Destiny Jackson were coming home from basketball practice in Minneapolis last night before last. There was a protest going on their route home. They were just driving home. ICE boxed them in. I mean, boxed them in. When ICE boxed them in, they panicked. They did. They absolutely froze. As Destiny said, what was on their minds and what they were talking about is what happened to Renee Good, because they have ICE agents standing in front of their vehicles. Then they have ICE agents standing next to their vehicles, screaming at them to move. Sean was frozen. So he yells out his window, "I'm trying. You're in my way. I'm trying. Move." And he just sat there because there's ICE agents in front of him. He's not going to move. He knows better. He's not going to move. So what did ICE do? First, they threw concussion grenades underneath their minivan. The blast was so hard, so concussive, it set off every airbag in their minivan, the side curtains, everything. The blast was so hard, it toppled over their infant child's car carrier, 6-month-old baby. It was seatbelted in. I mean, it was that big of a jolt. Then they hit him with tear gas. Fortunately, the protesters swarmed the vehicle and helped them all out. It was Sean and Destiny Jackson and their 6 children. They were coming from basketball practice. Their baby quit breathing. While protesters poured milk over their children, and you use milk, by the way, not water. Tear gas is an oil-based substance that's designed to stick to you. Water will not get it off. Oil and water doesn't mix. So protesters have learned to bring milk because milk is fatty. Fats are oil. Oil will mix with oil and it will wash the tear gas off. Strangers are pouring milk over their children. It's freezing cold. I mean, just freezing cold. These babies are in bad shape. While that's happening, Destiny realizes her infant child, her 6-month infant child, is no longer breathing. I can only imagine the terror. And she immediately starts CPR on this baby. But 3 of her children end up hospitalized. And they probably would have ended up dead. If they had moved that vehicle with those agents standing in front of their vehicle, they would have probably ended up dead. But we have a 6-month-old child that ICE almost murdered. Stopped breathing, had to have CPR. 2 other children. The children's ages are 11, 7, twins, the age of 4, a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old. A 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 6-year-old ended up being hospitalized. Every damn day, something like this happened. Agent Cajun John, good to see you here, brother. Glad to see you're feeling better. Glad to see you're feeling better, my friend. E.T., this shows that once we are driving the narratives with the facts, they have nothing but crap to throw at it. Get involved, people. Do the work. Yep. It's every day. It is every day. And Trump really believed that the bigotry, the ICE bigotry was going to save him. He was in, deep shit, in such a deep hole. He thought this was going to save him, and it is just burying them. It is just burying them. Every day it is something like this. Torrell Hendrickson, 371 from Norway. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Can you do a phonetic on how to pronounce that first name? I don't want to mispronounce your name. I think it's disrespectful. Thank you for keeping a Norwegian dairy farmer informed in these confusing times. Thank you for being here, sir. Thank you for being here. Christy Starr, thank you for supporting the show. Chandra Patton, always good to see you. Always good to see you. Good morning to you. And Monica, thanks for sharing the YouTube memberships. Thank you for keeping everybody in the loop. Jeremy Breeden says, fuck ICE. YouTube wouldn't let me use the real world, but fuck ICE. I'll say it for you. I will say it for you. But yeah, I mean, imagine being Sean and Destiny. Imagine you've got your 6 children in the back of a minivan coming home from basketball practice. And you've got ICE agents screaming at you, knowing what has just happened. How terrifying that must have been. But it's not just that. It's every day something like this happens.
There is still the orange of the pepper spray on your jacket, Michelle.
And her hair too, yeah.
And your
her
hair,
face, side of her face.
And your face. Just skipping, Michelle, what happened to you just now?
We came down here to peacefully protest because you can't be silent anymore. We were standing over to the side on the grass and gravel when a truck with flashing lights came through. So we stepped back even more when the law enforcement came out. And so we were far away from the driveway. And when they came out, 2 of them just started shoving any of us that were standing there away from,
indiscriminately,
and then
just pushing into the crowd.
And then started shooting pepper spray. They got the woman next to me really bad. I did not get it as bad. It's stinging on the side, but they really got her.
But they pushed you down. I had to step in the way between her and the guard. Say, she's 70 years old. Come on, she doesn't need to be pushed to the ground. Stop. And then he backed off, knew how old we both were. But I mean, aggressively, randomly, just dispersing in the crowd, firing, pushing people down. Yeah. We weren't part of the melee. We were off the side, and we were involved in stopping the car in any kind of way. They just were randomly pushing people down. Driveway. And it wasn't until I explained her age, stop, she's an older woman, stop, and that they stopped and backed off. But I mean, without thinking, they aggressively pushed their way into the crowd. And, there's no reason. They did back off when I said stop, and they backed off, said, okay, fine, and went somewhere else. But they didn't think. They didn't stop to think for a moment of pushing people to the ground and shooting that pepper spray.
70-year-old couple. 70-year-old couple. They just jumped out of the truck and just start beating people. Knocked a 70-year-old woman to the ground. They'd already gotten out of the way. They'd already moved back. But they jumped out of the truck, run out, slammed a 70-year-old woman to the ground, sent a 6-month-old, damn near murdered a 6-month-old infant, knock a 70-year-old woman to the ground. George Allen, thanks for always being here, brother. Thank you. I appreciate you. And it's things like this. It's all over social media. It's things like this. It's every day. You people are getting it done. You're showing what is going on up there. And it's ugly. It's ugly. It's one thing for, these bigots to have their fantasies. It's another thing when you get to see it. It doesn't play well. It doesn't play well. And the more it goes on, the worse Trump's polling is getting. The worse ICE's polling is getting. You're doing it. You're doing it. You sharing this, putting this in front of, remember, people, I tell you this all the time. You are the smart ones in the room. You are the ones that make it happen. There are people out there that are completely oblivious and clueless, that don't pay a bit of attention to what's going on in this world. And you are, through your actions, through sharing things like that on social media, you are putting it in front of their face, and they're having to look at what that rhetoric, bigotry bullshit looks like. And they don't like it. They don't. Ron Garduno 6049 says, Fayetteville, Arkansas here. We're a blue island and a sea of red. We're watching. Keep up the great work. I appreciate you being here, Ron. Ron Garduno, appreciate you being here, brother. And it's not just what ICE is doing. It's things like this. These are the kind of things that people that are ambivalent, people that are on the fence, look at and go, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. But you've got Kristi Noem coming out, stepping up to a camera and telling you better be ready to prove your citizenship. American citizens, you better be able to prove your citizenship. Not immigrants prove your immigrant status or prove you're here legally, or no. You Americans better have your papers. That's where we're at. Papers, please. We're back into World War II Germany is where we're at. And they're saying it out loud. They're saying it out loud. And it's That kind of thing on top of everything that you're seeing day after day after day. People keep asking me, Paul, how's this going to end? How's this going to end? It's going to end this way. No, Democrats, don't run to Minnesota. Don't make yourself the center of the story. Don't. They have excavator-sized shovels they're digging their holes with. Let them keep digging. Every day, let the American people see what they are choosing and what they are doing and how incompetent they are. Steve Corley, yo, Texas Paul, my coffee is good. Hope yours is better. I appreciate you, brother. I support you, brother. Do you think events will lead to retaliatory violence? I am encouraging no, because that is exactly what they need. In fact, it was so laughable when I was going through the feeds. Fox News, what Fox News is showing Cletus and your drunk uncle, is an ICE vehicle going through a crowd, and one guy just lightly taps the side of the vehicle with his foot, goes to kick it. And Fox runs a headline, protester bashes ICE vehicle. Like you can't actually see the video in front of your eyes. He didn't bash it. Didn't even dent the damn thing. But no, they're desperate for some violence. So no, I'm encouraging everyone. No. Take the Gandhi route. This is what Gandhi did. This is how England was the most powerful empire on the planet. And this is how Gandhi defeated them. Just held their ugliness up to their own face. Just held their ugliness up to their own face. And that's how we will win. Because it is what it is. This is Laura Jadeed. This is the kind of thing that people are seeing every day. This is Laura Jadeed. She's an independent journalist and she writes for Slate. She wanted to take a look at the rumors that, about ICE hiring. So she applied for a job with ICE. She is a left-leaning Trump, definitely calls out Trump constantly. Definitely has called out ICE in the past. So she didn't really expect anything to come of it. But as a journalist, she wasn't going to hide who she was. So she marched down there with her resume. ICE is hiring, baby. So she went down there, had a 6-minute interview, 6 minutes long. Her resume, she'll tell you, her resume looks pretty good. She is an Army veteran of Afghanistan. So she had that, which is what ICE is looking for. But she did not hide who she was. She also smoked a little dope before she went. Legal cannabis where she lives. So she knew she wasn't going to pass the drug test. She took the drug test, turned in the application, did not fill out the background check paperwork. She got a job offer. They offered her a job. And her point in all that is they have no clue who they're hiring. If they would hire her, a vehemently anti-ICE, anti-Trump journalist who pissed hot on a drug test, who else are they hiring? And of course, DOJ tried to deny it, but she brought receipts. She brought the receipt. I mean, she saved every communication. They were at the point where she's actually on the phone with ICE And they're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. You're going to have to go to this orientation, and there's going to be 8 weeks worth of training. And I mean, she's at that point. She's a journalist. She saved all the receipts. DOJ tried to deny it. But it's such elegant proof that even DOJ has no clue. I mean, pardon me, Homeland Security. I keep saying DOJ. Homeland Security has no clue who they're hiring. No clue whatsoever. ET says, last night Philip Ittner was on Malcolm Nance putting out an emergency appeal for generators in Ukraine. He was on while his phone power lasted. I like Philip Ittner. I really do. I like Phil. Jamie Jimenez, thank you for being here. I have a feeling it's going to take 16 years to clean up this horrid mess. That's hoping we have 2 Democratic presidents. Fuck ICE. It's scary here in Palm Beach County, and we're in a blue county. Thank you for all you do. I appreciate you being here. I really do. Thank you for supporting the show. Can't do it without you. Cannot do it without you. But just think about the sheer incompetence. They have no clue who they're hiring. She didn't fill out the background and got a job offer. She didn't fill out the background check and got a job offer. Imagine who is in the ranks of ICE. And the American people are seeing this every day. And they're not digging it. They are not digging it. Over half of Americans think ICE is the problem. Rightfully so, because we see it with our own eyes every day. We see it with our own eyes every single day. But you know, it didn't have to be this way. It didn't. I just want to remind everybody, Democrats had a plan too. And it was a hell of a lot less than we just dumped into ICE. Y'all remember this? Y'all remember the Democratic plan that became a bipartisan plan that Trump killed? The plan was to modernize our immigration systems because they're running on decrepit old computers. I mean, ICE is running around with personal cell phones tied into Palantir databases trying to match people's faces. Democrats wanted to fund modernizing our immigration system, modernizing our consulates so that we could vet people before they ever come here. Or if they do come here claiming asylum, we would have a capable consulate in the area that could do the background checks on people. The Democratic plan was to modernize the court system. You know, do it all constitutionally. Do it the right way. Treat people like human beings. Yeah. I don't want you to forget, Democrats had a plan for this. And it was the way we do things. It wasn't shitting on the Constitution. It wasn't beating American citizens, 70-year-old ladies in the frickin' street. It wasn't about sending 6-month-old infants to the hospital because you tried to suffocate it with tear gas. No. That's what MAGA wanted. That's what they chose. They chose this path. They killed the bill that would have modernized. I mean, you're talking about scanning equipment at the border. You're talking about all of the things that Democrats wanted to do. They killed it to intentionally go down this path. This is where they want America. And no, Democrats, please, I'm begging you, don't go make yourself the center of the story. Because every day that Americans see this stuff, they're coming to reality. They're coming to reality. Even right-wing MAGA influencers online, I'm not even talking just Joe Rogan that we talked about in the last show, are coming out and they realize just how bad this looks. You just killed a soccer mom. Spicy Jester, one of ours, all of yours, coined when an SS officer was killed and the Nazis murdered every male resident of the village in response. Trump and the GOP have been repeating this phrase recently. This is fascism, folks. And everybody's getting a good look at it. And not just that. It's not just that. I don't want to just focus on ICE. In fact, we're done with the ICE segment of the show. Veggie Owl Girl, second time. How is the baby? In the hospital. Recovering. Johnny Lott, 6240, abolish ICE. I agree with you. That needs to be torn down and replaced. But you know what else they're seeing? They're seeing the response to this. Because while all this is going on in Minnesota, up in Minneapolis and everywhere else, ICE is doing their Gestapo bullshit on the street. This is what's going on in Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, they had a big party the other day at Mar-a-Lago. I'm not going to play the music. There's not going to be any audio. Patriot Takes shared this. This is a party at Mar-a-Lago. No, that's not AI. They're really wearing dog masks. Let them eat cake. Let them eat cake. While this party was going on, Destiny Jackson was giving her 6-month-old infant CPR on the side of the road because ICE created a kill box around their SUV and they couldn't move. Rick Appling, probably bad news, but talking about getting effed up. The Humanist Report channel reported on some people saying they're ready to take up arms. Yeah, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. There's been people all over, the Black Panther Party, well-intended, doing videos of them walking around with assault rifles and automatic shotguns and stuff like that. But no. You want to win this? Do what you're doing. Phones out, record every bit of it. Put it in their face what they are. We've jumped the shark on this because, folks, you've got to understand, this was the last bastion for Trump. There's nowhere to hide in the economy. There's nowhere to hide overseas and foreign policy. It's all been a disaster. Venezuela blew up in their face. Folks, I want you to let this sink in. I did something we were going to talk about later, but let me pull it up for you. Folks, this is really happening. This is really happening right now. France, other NATO countries, Germany included, Denmark have sent troops to Greenland. For what purpose? To fight us. Our allies. Now, I want you to let this sink in. You know, there is no foreign policy place that Trump can hide. Right now, our allies are sending troops to Greenland. Now, they didn't send troops to Ukraine, which is, but anyways, that's a whole nother story. Don't want to get off in the weeds. But they did send troops to Greenland for the express purpose of fighting us, our allies. Let that sink in. There is no place for Donald Trump to hide. You know, that's what a Republican president used to do. When shit got ugly at home, he went overseas. Where's Trump going to go? There's no place for him to go. Everything he's touched is a disaster on full display. Christopher Daley, Machado should get the prize for denigrating international politics for 21st century. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about Maria Corina Machado here in just a second. Pablo 101, who brought the dogs? You're killing me, brother. You're killing me. Lourdes Rosario, thank you for being here. Thanks for supporting the show. I'm truly grateful. Just let that sink in for a second, though, folks. Our European allies have now deployed troops to Greenland for the sole purpose of defending their territory against us. That's where we are. And the entire world, including every American, sees it. Meanwhile, you want to talk about Maria Corina Machado. I want to do something a little different. Typically, when we have a round table, we do it at the end of the show. I have thoughts on this. If you don't know what you're looking at, folks, Maria Corina Machado won the Nobel Peace Prize for organizing resistance against the Maduro regime. She wants to be president of Venezuela. Trump invaded Venezuela, turned it back over to the Maduro regime. Maduro's vice president is running the country. Told Maria Corina Machado no. And everybody said, no, you're not going to run the country. Because Trump the reason, everybody was like, well, it's because he didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize. Maria Machado did, and he's butthurt about that. So he's not going to, he said that she doesn't have the support, so she can't be the leader. You got Delcy Rodriguez running the country now. But that wasn't it, really. To be honest with you, that wasn't it. Because to install her as president was going to take us putting troops on the ground in Venezuela. And Trump's a coward. He's not going to do that. He knows that's going to be ugly. That is going to be ugly. And he does not have the balls for that. He does not. So you've got Maria Machado here who thinks, I'll just give my Nobel Prize to Trump, which, by the way, the Nobel committee re-released this, reminding the entire world that Nobel Prizes are non-transferable. You can give him your Nobel Prize, you can hand it to him, but it doesn't mean it was awarded to him, and it never will. And to make matters worse, when Maria Machado was leaving the White House, She got herself some Donald Trump branded swag in exchange for her Nobel Prize. I have thoughts on this. But I really want to roundtable this for a few minutes, and I want to know what your thoughts are on it before I tell you where I'm at. Crafty Ash Gardner, friend works downtown ATX taco shop, said immigration lawyer, ATX is Austin, Texas, by the way, said immigration lawyer came by yesterday to warn that ICE is ramping up there next week. I'm telling you, you're going to see ICE. This whole ICE thing is going to go away. It is. This is not playing how they hoped it was playing. Every day that we see it, their hole just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. This isn't playing how they'd hoped. Dick Gray, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And I agree with you. Bahamut says participation trophy. He's so pathetic. He is pathetic. The fact that she would, that this is even a thing, that this is even happening. But I want to know what your thoughts on her are as well. Jake Sellers, says she's a weak coward. Diana Unger says she cannot give it to anyone else. She can give it to him, but it doesn't mean he was awarded it. She can't award it to him. She can give away her property. When you win the Nobel Prize, they hand you that medal that was in the center of that picture. Let me pull it back up. The medal there, the Nobel medal that's in the middle of that picture, she can give it away to anybody she wants. And the Nobel Committee was very clear on that. But it doesn't mean they were awarded it. Stoneflower Dragon, only place he can go is a Middle East oil kingdom. Saudi, maybe, you're right. Minnie Mouse, 71,755. This is how you bribe a narcissist. Victor Harshman, if she's playing him, the optics are bad. Folks, I look at this and I see somebody that just forfeited their leadership. I see somebody that is showing that they were never deserving of the Nobel Prize. That's weak. And people don't follow weakness. They follow strength. I mean, is there any other way she could have debased herself? Tiny Dog Dragon, honestly, what is she supposed to do with this clown show? He is so corrupt, it's impossible to win. If she wanted to be president, she should have done it from Venezuela. She should have shown that she has the strength to become president, not try to bribe Trump to make her president. What a capitulation. What a bending of the knee. What a just gross display of nothing but weakness. She forfeited her right to lead. Kira loves Michael. Without independent media, we'd never hear truth. Amen. Amen. I'm telling you my opinion now. I see her as done. I don't think she has any idea just how bad the optics of that was, how weak and and small she looks. What happens if the world embargoes the U.S.? We collapse. It's a global economy now. It's a global economy now. Alley-oop, Lindsey Graham level groveling. Yeah, exactly. And who the hell respects Lindsey Graham? Nobody. Nobody. But that's not all that's happening. Yesterday, in most states, the Affordable Care Act signups ended. And folks, 1 million people lost their health care. A million people lost their health care. Because they couldn't afford it. From one year to the next, from the 2025 sign up to the 2026 sign up, 1 million people lost their health care. This is why the bigotry thing isn't playing, even with their base. You've got the hardcore that are nothing but bigots that don't give a shit about anybody, anywhere. But the surrounding Republicans, the Mitch McConnell kind of Republican that are, dyed-in-the-wool, diehard Republicans, but they're not sick like MAGA. Yeah, those people, 1 million of them. And of those million, if you look at the demographics in the Affordable Care Act, that means about 650,000 of that million were Republicans. And not only did 1 million lose their coverage, not only that, but people massively rolled back their coverage. So not only did you have 1 million lose their coverage, you have millions, plural, that no longer had the coverage they did back in 2025, and they know it. And they know exactly why. They know exactly why. And they're sitting here watching this ICE bullshit. Chris Murphy, thank you for supporting the show. I'm truly grateful. Steve, thank you for gifting the memberships. Thank you for becoming a membership. Pardon me, a member. I'm sorry. Misread that. I'm sorry, Steve. Thank you for becoming a member. And again, folks, it's not just that. This is the important paragraph out of that article. NBC News reached out to the 20 states plus Washington, D.C. that run their own ACA exchanges about changes in signups for 2026. 10 state health officials responded with their latest numbers. In the 30 states that NBC did not ask, people purchased their ACA insurance through the healthcare.gov, run by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. On Monday, the agency released data showing that nationally, signups are down more than 800,000. That number is actually well over 1 million. I'm waiting for the final numbers to come in because as it says here in the article, some states run their own signups and then some run through healthcare.gov. And when we get the consolidation, it may be as many as 2 million people have lost their healthcare coverage. We don't know. We know it's well over 1 million. Down more than 800,000. This is just from healthcare.gov, is down more than 800,000 from last year. Fewer new enrollees are signing up and fewer people are renewing their coverage. And again, they are deeply rolling back their coverages. They're buying nothing but catastrophic plans. They're buying nothing. The cheapest of the cheap is all they can afford. Ginger Red Shoes. They don't think 1 million people is a lot because to them, $1 million ain't a lot. They're thinking percentages. We're thinking people's lives. We are not the same. We are not the same. We are not. But again, folks, it's every front. It's not just the economy. It's not just what's going on with ISIS. It's every front. It's Crazy Talk says they fooled MAGA into thinking real conservatives were war hawks just to give them war buzzards. Finally, they protect Iranian protesters and kill American protesters. Make it make sense. Thank you, Texas. But they didn't protect Iranian. That was talk. That was just like Trump just released what they called his great health care plan. You didn't see it, but there was actually a news conference with all of the major networks that nobody watched. Got like 0 ratings. And Trump came out and all of the corporate media treated it like he released a plan. It wasn't a plan. There was no plan. And people are rightfully so making fun, calling it concepts of a plan. It's not even that. They called it, they changed their verbiage from concepts of a plan. They call it a framework. See, when you present a plan and you have a policy, you get together for a big press conference to release your new policy. You have the promise, which is like they had 4 promises. One of them is to reform and lower healthcare, prescription drug costs. But when you're releasing the plan, that's followed with the word by. Reforming prescription drugs and lowering their costs by blank. And that's where you lay out what you're going to do. That is a policy. They didn't release a policy. They had a press conference and made promises. We're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to do this. But the part that's supposed to be there, that every Democrat, now, if a Democrat tried that, could you imagine if the Biden administration had called all of the networks together to hold a press conference to talk about a policy and then did not have a single policy in it? They just promised, we're going to make the sun come up sooner. Yeah, good luck with that. One of the things he said is you're going to cut $2,000 checks. Really? Because people's health care just went up, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a year. What's your $2,000 check going to do? Oh, and by the way, even the $2,000 check promise, well, you need to put that next to your Doge check and your tariff check and all the other checks that they said that they were going to send. And you remember military personnel, the 1776 check that was really their own benefits. They just put Trump's name on it. It wasn't even a real check to them. It was their own benefits. But by calling it a bonus, they now have to pay taxes on those benefits. Came out of their housing. You remember that? Same thing. Big press conference said we're going to cut $2,000 checks to everybody. Absolutely nothing from Congress on any bills, any laws, or anything to do it. File it with your Doge check. And the corporate media treated it like it was actual policy coming out. Imagine if any Democrat had tried to do that. Ali, 1976, Mexico paid for it. No tax on tips. He lies all the time. Yep, exactly. I love you folks. You are so on it. You are so on it. You are. I want to introduce you to somebody. We're going to take a little bit of a left turn here. Because I'm just talking about all the different fronts that they are screwing up and they're just going in the toilet. This is just another direction. This is Frederick Schultz Buchholzer. Frederick Schultz Buchholzer. Actually, Dr. Frederick Schultz Buchholzer. And I am not, he is Danish, by the way. He's from Copenhagen, Denmark. I am not trolling him with this picture. He uploaded this picture to his LinkedIn. Okay, I'm not trolling the guy. This is Frederick Schultz Buchholzer. He's a doctor that studies vaccines. He's an anti-vaxxer, is what he is. And he's got a shit reputation. He's catching a lot of heat right now because they just did a study of the DPT vaccine, the diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis vaccine. Didn't like the results of their own study. So after people funding it to the tune of millions of dollars, didn't release the study because it didn't agree with his anti-vaxxer point of view. Stick with me. We're going somewhere with this. He just put this out. This was on his LinkedIn also. I'm not trolling the guy with that picture. That was really his own picture. We are currently preparing to go to Bissau. All four of us in February, where I will work with the great gentleman Ezequiel Bartholomew and Matthias Metcalf. Team on Medvac Trial, a project where we test if the provision of measles vaccine versus BCG versus placebo is beneficial to women of childbearing age and offspring. So we're fresh off the DTP vaccine blunder. So they're going to go test another vaccine, is what he's saying, because he was supposed to be working on a hepatitis B vaccine study, but that got canceled. And this is where we're going. That got canceled. It got canceled because everybody that looked at this study was just horrified. They compared it to the Tuskegee experiments. See, Guinea-Bissau, this is Guinea-Bissau, by the way. Go to the map. This is Guinea-Bissau. There's a reason they're doing these studies in Africa. Guinea-Bissau, this is Guinea-Bissau, not to be confused with its neighbor Guinea, Guinea-Bissau is a tiny little country in Western Africa. And that's where they're going to do these anti-vaxxer studies. Elijah Denton says, keep up the great work, Texas. I will, brother. Thank you for supporting the show. Dollar Straws, much love from Idaho. Thank you. Thank you for being in Idaho in the house. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. So stick with me. Stick with me. Cecile Kazemi says, only maggot idiots and consummate grifters believe this garbage. So here's the thing. Everybody is just horrified by this. See, Guinea-Bissau has a problem. Almost 20% of the adults have hepatitis B. Almost 20% of the adults in the country, it's like 18 to 19% of the adults in Guinea-Bissau, they've got a huge epidemic on their hands of hepatitis B. So this Danish anti-vaxxer doctor does studies there. And that study was they were going to give 7,500 kids the vaccine, and they were going to give another 7,500 babies, and I mean kids, when I mean babies, a placebo and send them on their way. without telling the parents who got the placebo. So these kids, 7,500 of these kids, were going to go out into a society where almost 20% of the adults have Hep B, thinking that they were vaccinated. And it just blows your mind when you think about it. And I'm going to land this plane, I promise. When you think, who the fuck would fund something like that? Who would do that? Well, fortunately, the study was canceled. It was canceled. And unfortunately, you were paying for it. Let that sink in for a second. You were paying for it. And when I say you, I mean actually this guy was paying for it using your tax money. But wait, it gets worse. It gets worse. It gets worse. Jeff Schuler says, is this going to be the Samoan RFK debacle 2.0? Yeah. If you don't know what he was talking about, he did something very similar in Samoa and caused the death of, I don't even remember the numbers on the people, the number of Samoans that died. But yeah, it actually gets worse. It gets worse. Wait for it. See, Guinea-Bissau just had a coup in November. Just had a coup. They had an election. The current president got reelected. The military said, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. This guy is as corrupt as it gets. He's out. He is out. Well, this new regime, there's an interim regime that's supposed to only stay in place for 1 year while they do a transition to another election. They want to keep the U.S. government, the current U.S. government, as friends. So it's back on. They're right now rewriting the study. We're paying for it because of RFK Jr. They're rewriting the study, but they're going to do it anyways. They're going to figure out some way to not vaccinate children in Guinea-Bissau so that they can use them as guinea pigs, just like they did with the Tuskegee experiments, pardon me. And they're going to do it anyways because RFK, he wants his anti-vaxxer studies. You see what I mean by it's every front, every direction you go, it is just getting worse and worse and worse for this regime. There is no good news for them. Patir 9332, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. No, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for supporting the show. I'm truly grateful. Welcome. Congratulations on your membership. Thank you for being here. Thank you for becoming a member. But yeah, it doesn't stop there, folks. It doesn't stop there. When I say philosophy, I mean, really, what's the first thing that kind of comes to mind? I don't know about you. But for me, it's these guys. I immediately go back to Greek philosophy. When you talk about a philosophy course in college, a huge portion of it is Greek philosophy. You had Socrates, who was the teacher of Plato, who was the teacher of Aristotle. Greek philosophy, right? No brainer. Lenore Banks. Should I get a passport to carry with me to prove my identity? American of Mexican descent with brown skin. You know what? Puppy Killer says you should. Puppy Killer says you should. Disturbed in Ohio, thank you for gifting memberships. That's truly generous of you. Truly generous of you. Puppy Killer says you should. Have your papers. Be ready to prove it. But hey, and it had to be Texas. It had to be Texas. Oh my God, it had to be Texas. I ride on Texas A&M so freaking hard. And the reason being is Texas A&M used to be an incredibly respected university. Engineering, veterinary medicine, it was highly respected. Well, now, if you take a philosophy class at Texas A&M, you will not be taught about Plato, because Plato is woke. Plato is now woke. So basically your degree, if you ended up in any way taking a philosophy concentration from A&M, is shit. It's worthless. It's worthless. But why is Plato woke? And why can't they teach Plato in their philosophy classes? Well, it's this. Plato's Symposium. In Plato's Symposium, see, transgenderism isn't a new thing. The most stupid of the stupid among us, we call them MAGA, they think this trend, being transgender is a new thing. No, it's been recognized for as long as there have been human beings. There are human beings that have been born. It's the way we reproduce, folks. It's not a copy machine. It's not. Reproduction is not a Xerox machine. So you will get anomalies that have always existed. Always. Because it's just the way humans reproduce. You're going to have somebody that is born that has the mind of one sex, but the genitalia and the body of the other sex. It's been recognized forever. In fact, Native Americans, the first people, actually venerated them. They called them two spirits. In Plato's Symposium, they recognized this, that there's actually more than two genders, that a person can be born with a mind of a female in the body of a male, or they can be born with the mind of a male in the body of a female. They knew this even back then. But the philosophy of Cletus, he can't handle that. That's too much for Cletus. He can't. It challenges his manhood. Silly Bebo. Are we talking about Brian Harrison, my Texas State representative, stirring the pot? Folks, this is actually the university that's done this. It's the university itself, the chancellor, that's done this. Folks, I'm not even kidding. I wish I was kidding. I'm not. We now have to teach the philosophy of Cletus and cannot teach the philosophy of Plato. Linda Donahue, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the show. I'm truly grateful. Folks, I just want you to wrap your head around where this is going. Agent Cajun John, thank you for being here, brother. I'm afraid that Canada and the USA is going to battle in Greenland, and Canada is going to burn down the White House for a third time. Oh, no, Trump's going to back down on that one. He is. He's going to back down on that one. But you know where this is going, right? This is going to where anything that Cletus can't handle isn't going to be taught. You know, Socrates was Plato's teacher. Plato was Aristotle's teacher. I want to test you folks. I know you people are smart as hell. I know you are smart as hell. Does anybody know who Aristotle's most famous student was? Yes, Aristotle's most famous student was Alexander the Great. I knew you people would know it. You people are so freaking smart. I love spending time with you people. Alexander the Great. Kind of important in history, you know. I mean, you can't really study world history without studying Alexander the Great. But what happens? It is because Cletus runs the country. Exactly. J.W. Wilmink. Yeah. It's because Cletus is running the country. Exactly. What happens when they find out that Alexander was bisexual? That the love of his life, his closest, the man that was at his side when he died, from youth to the day he died, his greatest love was Hephaestion. What happens when they find out about Alexander? Because A&M, when they find out Alexander's gay, they're not going to teach about Alexander anymore. I mean, this is where we're headed. The history of Cletus, the philosophy of Cletus. They're really doing this out loud, folks, and they think it's a win. Just like we had the University of Oklahoma with that dipshit student that absolutely failed, 100% failed an assignment and ended up getting the teacher fired because she wrote as justification, God said so, in an assignment where she was supposed to provide actual justification on the subject. God says so. They fired the professor that failed her for doing that. This is where we're going. This is what I mean. And the reason I'm talking about this is, again, the whole point of this show is to point out it's not just the immigration was the safe harbor. It was the one thing they could talk about that kept their base. They are in trouble. The release of the Epstein files absolutely terrified Republicans. Absolutely terrified them. Then you had Venezuela they thought was going to save them that blew up in their face. Now you have Greenland. The economy is sputtering. They know they're in trouble. They thought they were going to run home to mama. Just appeal to the bigots. It's going to be okay. The whole point of this show is to show every single avenue that they're failing in, that's coming home to roost, and why the bigotry is failing. You know, even Cletus can understand this. Yeah, the EPA has changed its methodology. When they look at issues, they're no longer going to look, they're not going to consider the lives involved, the lives lost or the lives saved. They're not going to weigh that in their math. What are they going to pay attention to? The monetary value to the industry. I mean, it doesn't get any more in your face than that. The EPA is no longer going to look at pollution issues and consider human lives. That will not be in the mathematical equation. And that's what the EPA is used to be based on science. These are actual equations that they do. As grim as they are, they would look at the toxicity of substance, how many people are going to die, and punch it all into an equation to make policy recommendations. They will no longer consider human lives. It's going to be the costs to the industry is all they look at. Even Cletus can understand that's fucked up. That is fucked up. Rock and Ron, thank you for being here. Thank you for gifting the memberships. Lourdes, thank you for gifting the memberships. I appreciate you. I really do. Keeping everybody involved. But it's not just there. It's not just there. This is Harmeet Dhillon. This is Harmeet Dhillon. She's the Deputy Attorney General. If you're a long time, if you've been following the show, you know we did a whole segment on her when she was handed control of the Civil Rights Division over at the DOJ. She's the Deputy Attorney General. She just went on a podcast and said this. Dr. Dag, thanks for supporting the show. I appreciate you. She went on a podcast and said this. I mean, said this out loud on a right-wing podcaster. The Attorney General doesn't have to show her homework as to what she is going to do with it. I am here. I am her designee. So I get to ask for that information and they have to give it. What she's talking about is they've been using the Civil Rights Act, perverting it and using it as a basis for legal demands for your voter information. I'm talking about your driver's license number, your voter registration, all of that handed over to the federal government, and the federal government's turning it over to the GOP so they can have their folks come up with an extremely targeted attack in different areas coming up for the next election. But yeah. Judge David Carter, this is Judge David Carter, by the way, District Judge David Carter, said, no, you're going to have to show your homework. And when they did show their homework, he said, no, no, this is not what the Civil Rights Act was meant for. There's nothing in the Civil Rights Act that says you can clean voter rolls, which was actually the argument that Harmeet Dhillon and the federal government made, that they needed everyone's voter. Remember, states run elections, not the federal government. The federal government has no business with your voter registration information. The federal government does not run elections. So no, they aren't entitled to this. They perverted and warped language in the Civil Rights Act, and we're using it in a way that's going to end up disenfranchising the very people the Civil Rights Act was meant to protect. And Judge Carter told them, no, you're not doing that. You're not doing that. They'll appeal it, and this will go to the Supreme Court, and we'll see what the Supreme Court says. How badly they want a Democratic president to be able to monkey with elections. But folks, this is important because there's a lot of people out there, the doomers, that keep saying, we're not going to vote. They're not going to let us vote. Folks, that's the wrong worry. We're going to vote. We are going to vote. We are going to vote. But they're going to cheat. They are. They're going to cheat. We have to be so good going into this next election. I mean, you have to check on your voter registration. You have to check on your family's voter registrations. You have to make sure that every T is crossed, every I is dotted. We're going to have to jump through so many hoops. They're going to make sure your polling place, you have the longest wait possible. They're going to do all of these things. They're telling you to your face. They've got Harmeet Dhillon trying to gather everybody's voter registration information so they can take it and turn it over to the GOP operatives who are going to turn around and then attack you by trying to get you kicked off the voter rolls. This is what they're going to do, folks. They're not going to, it's not that we're not going to vote. We're going to vote. They're just going to cheat like hell. And we have to be better than we have ever been. Skeet Sayre, there are many tangents connected to the Trump administration. Project 2025 is a Republican dream. It is in full effect in America. As far as understanding his foreign policy, put it through the lens of Russian asset. Bibi is in too. Well said. But, again, these things blowing up in Trump's face doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. This just happened. This came from a judge. A judge actually said this. Judge William Young actually said this, that Trump cabinet secretaries conspired to violate the Constitution, namely the First Amendment. This has to do, you remember back in the election, you had the Gaza bots and it led to a big protest movement. And then after using the Gaza bots that were for some reason attacking the Democratic Party that made no fucking sense whatsoever, after being useful idiots, what did they do? They went and deported everybody that was participating in any Palestinian activism. They went through social media. They went through the university. Do you remember them blackmailing the university? We talked about this and how some universities like Columbia University bent the knee while other universities like Harvard didn't. Do you remember that whole dust up? Well, it's finally had its day in court. And the judge very openly said, E.T., Florida now has you needing to fill out and mail in. Let me try that again. Florida now has you needing to fill out and mail in an address change instead of doing it electronically. Needs a physical, not electronic signature. Yeah, they're going to. Thanks, E.T., for bringing that up. These are the kind of little things they're going to try to, we've moved the needle 10 to 15 points. They're going to try to whittle that down through acts like this. It's going to be, they're going to try to, kill us with a death from 1,000 cuts. That's what's going to happen. And it's your discipline, your participation You're actively going out and working with your local Democratic Party to make sure people are registered, make sure that people know how to, all of the, the knowledge that ET has there. He's got to share that. Pat Fraser, thanks for being here. Thanks for becoming a member. I appreciate you being here. But yeah, you've got Puppy Killer, Christy Nome, or as I like to call her, Turkey Neck, and Little Marco. In their communications, has been called out by Judge Young as being involved in an active conspiracy against the Constitution because he took these people's First Amendment rights and used it against them. Your right to protest cannot affect whether or not you're deported or kicked out of your university. And that is exactly what they did. That is exactly what they did. They used these people in the last election to split off enough vote, again, just cleaved off enough voters that they could win. And then after they used these people, these same people they're attacking up in Minnesota, the exact same community in the last election where it was Somalis for Trump, Muslims for Trump. They used them, and now they're deporting them. Same exact thing. Meanwhile, in contrast, you have this. Our Canadian brothers and sisters, it's about business. It's about business. While Trump is running around the world, souring all of our relationships, destroying our economic ties with his stupid tariff boondoggle, which again is designed to move the tax burden from his broligarch funders onto you and me. We pay the taxes on a tariff. That's the whole point of them, is to take the tax burden from the wealthy and put it on you. Canada's doing just the opposite. Mark Carney and Xi just got together. Xi Jinping just got together, cut a deal to roll back tariffs on canola. Remember, we told you the history of where canola got its name? It comes from a shortening of Canada oil. It's actually from the rapeseed. China has massive. It's absolutely stunning. As a matter of fact, let me pull it up for you. Real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. If you look it up, don't just type rape farm or don't just Google rape. Put the word seed in there. They're absolutely stunning, just valleys. This is when rapeseed is in bloom. It is one of China's major crops. It's on my bucket list to see, to actually go. I mean, it's a tourist attraction because it just becomes just valleys that are just seas of yellow. And really incredible to look at. You should look at some of the images online. But yeah, canola oil is made from rapeseed, but nobody would buy rape oil, obviously. So Canada rebranded it Canada Oil, which got shortened to canola. They just cut a deal to lower the tariffs on canola oil, on canola, seed coming in, EVs coming in. canola oil going out, business, doing business, reducing the costs for their people. That's what Mark Carney's doing up in Canada. That's what Xi Jinping's doing in China. Boy, I bet they're getting along great. Right? Meanwhile, what do we have here in the United States? Meanwhile, we've got this craziness. It's not just ICE. And I'm going to say it again. You have these purists. As a matter of fact, I had one where I had to delete his comment. I had to stop and delete his comment. You saw it flash on the screen temporarily. Where we was talking about the Democrats don't have any balls. They're not going to shut down the government over ICE funding. No, they're not. They're not. Because of the big picture, that would be incredibly stupid of them to shut down the government right now. Because right now you have even Cletus is looking at what this looks like, what's going on, and he's not digging it. He's not excited. He's not motivated to turn out. You're not winning him over to be a Democrat, but there's a lot of Republicans that are not going to show up and vote over looking at stuff like this. And if Democrats shut down the government now, we talked about this in a previous show. It's tax time, people. And how many people do you know that are sitting there just waiting? That is the biggest chunk of cash they get at one time all year long. Is that tax return? And you think Democrats are going to shut down the government and be the party responsible for delaying all of your tax returns? Fairy dust, appreciate you being here. Can the Trump regime just stop all federal funding to blue states? Nah, they can talk about it. They can try, but no. George Allen. Yeah, I remember that show of yours. Very cool. Appreciate it. Skeet Sayer, just vote the Republicans out of office and return life to normal. Exactly. But let me tell you, I want to hit this again because I'm about to do some videos because this is already starting, especially on Blue Sky. Blue Sky is the worst for the purists. I mean, it is tremendous energy on Blue Sky. Don't get me wrong. There are young people, very excited, very involved, but they do not have any big picture skills when it comes to politics, and they fall into the traps very easily. So it's up to us, the grown-ups in the room, to explain why. No, Democrats are not going to shut down the government over ICE funding. They're not. Even with all of this, you're going to have a few that are going to work with Hakeem Jeffries in the House to protest vote. They're going to protest vote. But Hakeem Jeffries is going to give Republicans enough votes to keep the government open. And it has everything to do with tax returns. Because it is political suicide. Because I need you to think about this. I need you to always remember, what did we forget? How did we fuck up in the last election? We forgot. We're talking to people that aren't us. And if you go just to the general population of America and you tell them, we're going to shut down the government and you're not going to get your tax return for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, however long it takes, because they're not going to fold on this because it's a winner for them. The longer the government stays down trying to block ICE funding, that is a winner for Republicans politically. They have no incentive to stop Democrats from doing that. You know, Sun Tzu, The Art of War, when your enemy is making a mistake, don't interrupt him. And then Democrats will eventually have to fold anyways. That's the political reality of this situation. But right now, all over social media, you have people that are not politically astute, that are very passionate, that morally are correct, that we should be shutting the government down and defunding ICE and all of that, are going to be attacking Democrats, calling them weak, telling them. Meanwhile, they'll be cashing those tax returns. They will. They'll be cashing those tax returns at the exact same time they're standing in the bank cashing that tax return. They're going to be talking about how weak Democrats are. And you and I have to get ahead of that. That fight doesn't come for 2 more weeks. But already the Republican operatives and the know-nothing activists that think they understand politics and think they're going to make the world a better place are already setting up that death trap, that boxed-in canyon for Democrats. Snickerty says, commentary on the Clintons' refusal to testify. Sure, I'll wrap it up with that. I have been corrected. I said returns when I should have said refunds. Returns are what you file, refunds are what you get back. Commentary on the Clintons. It's problematic. It's a win for Republicans. Even though the Clintons said, we'll testify publicly, not privately, it still got spun in the media that the Clintons just refused to testify, which is not what they did. They said, we'll testify publicly. That's it. And they had a caveat that you've got to release the Epstein files also. But no Democrat, including myself, has an appetite for defending the Clintons right now. We just don't. We just don't. They've offered to testify in public. Basically, they call the Republicans bluff, but then everything blew up around it. And the mess, and remember, I told you, narratives are everything. It doesn't matter what reality is. Politics is dictated by the narrative. And the narrative that stuck was the Clintons won't testify. That's not the reality. They will testify. They want to release the Epstein documents, unredacted, and they want to testify in public. That's what they want. That wasn't the narrative that got out. The narrative that got out was the Clintons refused to testify, and then boom, Minnesota happened. And that's the narrative that stuck. So yeah, that's where we're at on that, folks. And I don't know what to tell you other than I'm not going to waste a lot of air talking about it. George Allen, sorry, Paul, I was talking about the canola explanation on your show a while back. No, I knew what you meant, brother. I knew what you meant. I enjoyed that show. I really did. I enjoyed doing that show. I don't remember every show I do, but I remembered that show. We got about 5 minutes left. Anything else you'd like to, any other questions you want to throw out there? That's what I have for you today, folks. This is good. This is good. Dr. Q. Jamie Raskin and several Democrats are actually calling for this. This is something that you can actually look forward to when we win the midterms. And part of the investigations that come out is we're actually going to find out who ICE has hired. Even if they quit and try to go away, we're going to get those records. And yes, we're going to get the Epstein files. I just reached out to Congressman Garcia. You remember we had Congressman Garcia on the show previously. I'm trying to get him to come back and talk about. He is now, since being on the show, he has now become the ranking member on the Oversight Committee. He is working every day. Every day he is working with Thomas Massie to get that information out. Speaking of Thomas Massie, I got something from him for you real quick. Annie Crowley, thank you. Happy Friday to you too. Let me see if I've still got it here. Yep, sure do. Thomas Massie is I'm telling you, me and that guy couldn't agree on anything. I mean, we are so far apart, it's not even funny. He is like an ultra conservative, and I'm a liberal. I am on just about everything. I'm a liberal. We about the only thing that we agree on, even close to being on the same map, is guns, and that's it. That is it. Yeah, he's been doing some next level trolling. This is real. He really put this out. Psst, Denmark. Tell the administration the Epstein files are in Greenland. They'll lose all interest and will never be able to find it. I mean, that's good. That's good. I don't care who you are. That's good. Skeet Sayre, if you go and look at all right-wing militia camps, they are empty as they are all employed by ICE. Yeah. That, I hate to say it, but yeah. And somebody asked me the question the other day, how do we get these ICE people to quit? And it's like, you don't. This is the best job they've ever had. They have never made as much money as they're making right now, ever in their lifetime. George Allen, thanks. What about Donald Trump taking Greenland? Not going to happen. Not going to happen. It's just not. Europe called his bluff. When they put troops on the ground there, they called his bluff. He'll start talking about buying it now. Skeet Sayre, one of the questions about ICE recruitment is, are you a NASCAR fan? That is true. That is true. That is true. They also ask if you listen to right-wing talk radio. They do. Which gives you an idea of who these people are, what quality of people they are. Anyways, folks, that's what I've got for you today. I hope you found it useful. We're out of time. I appreciate you being here. I just want to wrap it up with this. I do. I want to wrap it up with this. They're losing. It feels awful. And they are going to do awful things. And they're going to cheat in the next election. But we are going to win. And we are going to start fixing some of this stuff. And it will take time. Take a look at Mamdani up in New York. They're already fighting him. They make shit up. They make shit up about him every day. Just because they lose, they're not going to go away. They're still going to be just as awful as they are today, but more desperate. It's going to take a commitment on our part. We are going to have to be better than we've ever been before. Period. In this next election. We're going to have to get out. We're going to have to register people. We're going to have to knock on doors. I need you volunteering with campaigns and your local Democratic Party. If you are seeing this, folks, there's no time for that anti-Democrat bullshit. It's got to go. Got to go. There are two parties in this country. One can govern. One is the shit we're seeing today. Oh, and I wanted to say thank you. I received some mail-in donations. I received some Cash App donations. I'm very grateful. I got them. Steve, I got it. I sent you an email already. We got some fascinating people in our community. We really do. I mean, the hobbies that you folks have. I mean, I love talking with Steve about his trains. I love talking, we've got farmers in this community. We've got police officers in this community. We've got federal agents in this community. We've got doctors and lawyers and nurses and teachers. And I read every one of your emails. I can't respond to every one of your emails. I can't. I don't have that kind of time, but I do read them. And I mean, this is just, y'all are some amazing people. Do me a favor before you go. The numbers are dropping. There's still 2,700 of us here. If you haven't already hit the follow button, hit the follow button. If you haven't already hit the thumbs up button, hit the thumbs up button. Think about hitting the notifications button so you can get a notification when we go live, and consider becoming a member. Cannot do the show without you folks. I can't. On that note, enjoy some Texas cities at night.